mute it so that we don't have that overlap.
Okay, I think we're on. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone. And I am so excited to introduce you to my new friend, Omar Faizi. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here. And I hear an echo.
Yeah.
So excited to introduce you. Is that what I really sound like?
Okay, now it looks like we're live.
Yes, it says live here. So here, we'll try again.
Oh, what's going on? It doesn't show me that we're live.
Oh, it doesn't? Here,
No.
let me see. Live here. Okay. So here, we'll try again. Oh, what's going on? Mine's showing.
Yeah,
No.
I'm on the right page and
Oh, no, it won't be on the exact same link because we're on Zoom. We'll be live on YouTube, but we won't be live on that same link I gave you. Oh, no, it won't be on the exact same link.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you there.
We'll be live on YouTube, but we won't be live on that same link I gave you. Okay, one watching now. I guess it's me. Oh. Well, or our other choice is to pre-record this and then me put it through StreamYard. That's the other choice, and not be live.
I think I found you, Kathy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I found you, and I'm gonna share it out.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
It's just the different link.
So everyone, I'm sorry that we're a little late and this is confusing, but my main computer didn't want us to do it today. So we're on a backup. Thank God for backups. And I'm so excited for everyone to meet Omar and get to know what he does. And I think you'll be so surprised about the variety of knowledge that he has, and that he's sharing with all of us. So just tell me when you want to.
Yeah, we're good to go, Kathy.
Okay, okie doke. So, okay. So, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. So we're having a little bit of technical interest today, but this is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Omar. And oh, it says it's. Hold on a second. My camera's not working now. Interesting energy.
Yeah. What's going on this morning?
I don't know. One more try here. It says start video. It's unable to detect my camera. Okay, well. I'll let's see. Okay, had to re-plug the webcam back in.
There you are. It's all good. It's Tuesday morning.
10. Oh my God.
It's Tuesday morning. It's all good. Somewhere it's a Monday.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I do this every Tuesday. Okay, so Omar, let's get straight to the cool stuff. You grew up in Europe and then moved to Canada. How old were you when you moved?
I was actually born here in Canada, in Ontario, on a Aboriginal reservation called Belleville, because I'm half Aboriginal myself. My mom is Mohawk, and my dad is Pakistani. So I was born here, and then my parents divorced, and then when they divorced, I was sent to Denmark, to Copenhagen, to go and live with my aunt and uncle, because my dad was a single parent, and back in the 70s, he was going to university, he was doing his things, and just couldn't really give me the attention that I required. So I went to Denmark, and I stayed there until 1985. So I lived there for roughly like nine and a half years, and then moved back here to Canada, and I've been here ever since, and planning on actually leaving as quickly as I can.
Really? Really?
Yeah,
So,
it's
so,
not Canada is not what it's made out to be. Uh,
oh my,
you know how when you look at relationships, and on the surface the relationship looks good, but as soon as you scratch it, there's like some serious issues in the background.
yeah.
Canada is the same thing. People say that Canada is a great place to live, blah blah blah, but when you move here and you actually scratch the surface a little bit, you realize that Canada is not what it's made out to be, and it's actually it's a terrible country, really. I myself find that Canada is more like a third world country in the G7 countries, the G20 countries. It's just not up there at all. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
that's how I feel about it. I would
you,
rather not be here.
wow. So you have an incredible worldview. My partner is actually from Transylvania, and English is his third language, and he has a totally different worldview too. Your experience of living in these different places and experiencing other cultures gave you an open-mindedness that most people don't have, because we're kind of programmed. We're
Mhm.
conditioned by our and well-meaning relations. I mean, they tell you this is the way you act, and this is how you engage, and this is how you think. And it's only until your 20s when you go, what? They don't look happy. I don't want what they got. But even now, it's just everything's being exposed. Everything that all the history, that human history that we've been taught, there isn't hardly any truth to it.
Zero truth to all of
Right.
that. I would say, Kathy, that programming is all over the world, and regardless of what country you live in, it's just the programming is there. It's just programming is particular to that culture. And when you go, say, next door over, like when you go to Europe, for instance, you have all these small countries that are in this continent that's like the size of Canada, and all these different countries with different languages, different cultures. And when you move from one country to the next, right, you see the programming that switches from place to place to place. Yeah. And then not only do you have the social programming, right, but then you have the religious programming on top of that, right? And I find that really skews things up. And the thing I find with North America, particularly with Canada, is that people don't have the opportunity to travel, nor do they have the will to want to travel. I used to live on Vancouver Island, and I met numerous people on Vancouver Island that have never left Vancouver Island. And they're like in their 50s, early 60s, and they literally have never left Vancouver Island. And there's a huge metropolis, Vancouver, just, like a 2-hour ferry ride from the island, but they've never gone there. I met one guy, he is from Duncan, Vancouver Island, and he's never left the vicinity of Duncan, right? So, and with that in mind, and I've come across many, many other people like that. So, when you don't have the opportunity to travel. It's not that people don't want to travel, it's the fact that it's just so expensive in North America that you just simply can't travel. You can't afford to travel, and you can't take in all of these cultures and all of the food and music and the vibration and the energy of all these different cultures. So people remain in that level of ignorance where, they think that their culture, here in Canada is it, right? This is it. And there's nothing really beyond that. And I call that like container thinking, right? You put on that identity and you're limited to that particular set of intellect within that container identity. And you can't think beyond it unless you go and travel. You go to Morocco and say, oh, wow, Morocco is so beautiful. You go to India and say, wow, India is so beautiful. And then when you come back to Canada, then you appreciate, or you go back to the United States or Britain or wherever it is that you came from, it allows you the opportunity to appreciate what you have and appreciate what they have that you don't have. Because I've gone traveling and I've come home and I like to cook, and I've picked up spices along the way that I really liked, and come here to Canada and you go to specialty stores and all these stores and you can never find those spices. Right. So that's what I mean by like going out there and just exploring. And, unfortunately here in North America, things are just utterly so expensive that one can't really afford to take their family overseas to, if they wanted to even go to the Dominican Republic, let's say, it's cheap down there, but it's going to cost you like $2,500 per family member to fly down there. And who has that kind of money in North America when you have, your minimum wage of like $12 an hour, $13 an hour, and the maximum money that you'll make on the average is like $25, $30 an hour. And by the time the government is done with you, you're only making like, $15, $16 an hour. And then you have to pay 60% of that to rent and energy. So at the end of the day, you're left with nothing. And that's why I say that Canada is a terrible country. North America in itself is just terrible because of the cost of living that's involved here. And we get raped, Kathy, on a daily basis. We get raped. Like, I have friends in Egypt, and in Egypt, they can buy a satellite dish for like $25 and they got 10,000 channels and that's it. They never have to pay ever again. If I was to get a satellite, it would cost me like, $1,500. And on top of that, I would have to pay like $300 a month. Why is that? Right? Why is that? Why is it somebody in Egypt that can, put a satellite dish on a shopping cart and then have like 10,000 channels going into their house, but here in North America where it's developed, I have to pay, like I have to pay.
Sounds like a business opportunity. Well, I want to say I lived in Italy too. I went to school in Italy 5 different times growing up, and so I really experienced the same thing you did. I got to travel in Europe. First of all, it was weird. I grew up in Ohio, Midwest. And it was weird that these countries, which were the size of a state next to me, had history of wars and culture differences. And, oh, you don't like those people. And it was like, hey, that's like me in Ohio saying I don't like people from Indiana and really not liking them. So that was one thing that was very curious. But the other thing was, which is a positive thing, I hope, is that I found the more that I experienced all these other countries, because I got to go to Yugoslavia. Remember we were talking about the Bosnian pyramids and everything? Oh my God, the energy there is amazing. What happens is you realize that everyone's the same, and that we may speak different languages, we may have all these other programs on top of who we are, but as beings, we love our children, we love our pets, we love our family, we just want to be happy. In fact, I got to go to Africa because my daughter was in the Peace Corps for 3 years. I got to go visit her. And, the pictures they show of these bright faces of these kids, they don't even capture an eighth of what these kids, they're glowing because they know they're loved and they love. And that's what North America doesn't have, is that some sort of, I don't know if it's the clan, because it takes a village to raise these kids, but they're glowing. They know they're loved. and they're delighted to be here. Whereas you see the, we've got rigid, a lot of rigid parenting and social constructs here, that your work is the key, I believe, to starting to release some of that. Because once all of those constructs that are proven that they aren't correct. So let's go to that. Let's talk about your desire to learn about the origin of the Earth humanity.
Yeah, I just want to quickly just touch on what you just said with the language that we speak, and this language that we speak, regardless whether it's English or Portuguese or Italian, French, Chinese, it really doesn't really matter. My opinion is that we've been forced to speak these languages because prior, when we look at the story of the Tower of Babel, for instance, that's more, for me, it's a metaphorical story than an actual story, and what I feel is that prior to whatever happened here on Earth 10-15,000 years ago, prior to that, we were telepathically communicating with one another, because in the story of the Tower of Babel, it says that we all spoke the same language and then the tongues were confused. Right. And the way I interpret that is that the language that we spoke was the language of energy and the language of thought, where we could make a long distance phone call from here to Colorado and then just have this conversation in our minds with each other. And then when that connection was severed, we were forced to go back to speaking our regional dialects. Not like the regional dialects were never there and we only spoke, and then we just, when that disappeared, we began to create language. I don't think so. I think the regional languages were always there, and that we had that one common language that we spoke worldwide with each other. It was the telepathy. And because of that, the destruction of that language has caused us to go into this vortex, into this, slip, or into the slide that we're currently in, as a species of war and hatred and profit and destruction of the earth. I think it's a consequence of all of that, which we're seeing here today. And the rigid parenting that you were mentioning, I believe is all part of that, because when you look at my upbringing, because this rigid parenting really is something relatively new. Only in the last 20 years this has been happening, because when you look at the upbringing of myself and other people of my generation, we had pretty much the same upbringing. We woke up Saturday morning, we went to the hockey arena and we played shinny hockey all day. Parents said, don't come back home until the lights come on, and that was your cue to stay out all day long. Came home, watched some telly, played with friends, and went to bed and did it all over again. And we had structure in our life, and we had that discipline too, where if you stepped out of line, you got the beats, right? And then when you got the beats, you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that again, because I don't want mom and dad beating me again, right? And then that was like really set the tempo for us. And I think what we've done, like my generation has done, is corrupted that upbringing of children, because what we've done is that we've taken our children and put them in front of the TV and allowed the TV to raise our kids. And then when the TV just wasn't sufficient enough anymore, then we began to give them Xboxes and PlayStations and just got them totally focused on that TV. And now they're brainwashed by that TV. And then now parents are struggling to figure out what's going on. How come my child is like this? Why is my baby so dumb? Or, why is my kid, when I tell him to put away the leftovers, takes the whole pot and puts it in the fridge? Why is there no critical thinking? Why is that? And the people continue to ask that, but they're not really looking internally and thinking to themselves, well, this is my fault because I allowed the TV to raise my kids, and I didn't raise my kids. Because when you look back at my parents, they raised us, right? They didn't stick us in front of the TV, told us to get out, go and play, hang out, socialize. So I think that's what's is the cause of the problem. And then now this work that you're doing, I'm doing, Rob, Dr. Joan, Neil Gore, like all of us that are doing this work, it's to open up our eyes, right? Not only these two eyes, but our third eye, our fish eye, so that we can begin to construct the world in the way that it originally was, compared to, this matrix like, false reality that's being offered to us to interact with this daily grind, right? The 9 to 5 grind, the low energy, low emotional response to everything.
See, I'm going to interrupt you because I'm taking it a lot further. Plus, I could be almost your parent. So I'm taking it that all of the constructs that were put in place to keep us safe actually dumb us down, and we have superpowers that are whether the programming wants us to or not, we are coming into our superpowers. This photonic energy that's coming from the great central sun, from how our whole universe is moving, it can't be denied. And we're in that time of huge change where the knowledge that we have, really, this knowledge is really not as important as this knowledge. Right. So we're taking a journey, and I'm hypersensitive, I'm psychic and intuitive. So I automatically, in fact, as soon as I start talking to you, my third eye starts opening. So I use multi-sensory input. And I think everyone's going to be like that. I think instead of it being like, oh no, I'm an empath, I'm afraid to be around other people, which I've had that, because you walk in a room and is that mine or is that theirs? But I think everybody is being upgraded to this. And once they're going to not follow the party line. They're not going to want to, they want to express and co-create with consciousness on a leading edge. They're not going to want to be robotic. And a lot of the new kids, the young kids coming in, I believe they're telepathic. And if they're raised with that being cool, like it was not cool, I had to hide my knowings. It was not cool. And I don't know if you did either, but what I'm saying is that, I mean, our ancient ancestors and the indigenous, the original beings on this earth had powers that we're going to rediscover, correct? Is that what you agree?
I believe so. I think what's happening is that, number one, we're changing into a different yuga cycle. And right. From that yuga cycle, then we can look at the zodiac. And then from the zodiac, we're moving into a different, star system. And then when we look at humanity, here on Earth, we always have had these gifts, right? But through suppression, through violence, through all these measures that these things have taken to suppress us to be at the point where we are today, where we're extremely dense. But that density is kind of breaking through because we're going into the new age, the new root race, because we're the 5th root race, the Aryan root race, and now we're going into the 6th root race, and that 6th root race is going to be the indigo star seed a race that's coming in. And I think what's happening, Kathy, is that it's everyone has the same opportunity, right? And the reason why I say that is that there's that famous prophecy by the Anasazi, and that the Hopi have picked up and have prophesied on that themselves, where there will be 2 roads, and then those 2 roads, I interpret that as timeline shifts. And the opportunity is that we all have the opportunity to raise our self-awareness. And I think the more self-awareness that we raise within ourselves, the deeper we understand ourselves, and the more access we have to the information, to the ether, because this human body is, I look at it as an antenna. And this antenna is tapping into the ether, and it's, either downloading information or it's uploading information, but it really depends on your level of self-awareness.
Right.
Right? If you're more aware, then you have more access to information. But when you start thinking with this, right, the brain, right? The brain is not your friend. The brain is in fact your enemy, because within that brain, we have the reptilian brain, and then, we have the reptilian brain complex, or the reptilian complex, which always keeps us in that flight or fight mode, and that constant perpetual state of fear. So once we stop thinking with this one, and then we go into the actual, the meat robot, our avatar that we have, then we can really begin to get more information. And because the mind, right, the brain has only so much information, and because the brain is connected to the ego, and the ego is connected to, identity containers, when we take on those identity containers, then we get limited to a certain level of information, and then we can't go beyond that scope of that identity containers. But if we don't take on any identities, and if we go within and begin to go into our genetic memory and into our ancestral memory within, then we can begin to get those uploads, and we can, it seems like you're getting a download, right? People say, oh, I got a download, right? It's like, okay, well, that's cool. But, I think what's happening is that more people raise their awareness, the more uploads that they're getting, because from the genetic memory, right? The genetic memory is saying, hey, this happened, there's this information out there, and there's this information out there in your mind, because it can't comprehend the idea, because you've never been taught that, right? You've never been taught that your body has more memory than your brain does. Then your brain, you automatically start thinking, oh, I'm special, I got a download, the universe is talking to me, but never really realizing that information is coming from within. Right. And I think that's these children that are being born, like my granddaughter that was born in October, I feel that she's going to be an indigo child that's going to have the ability of telepathy and telekinesis, and be able to bend spoons just by simply looking at it. I've had videos on my channel where you have like these babies, like 1 year old, 2 years old, sitting at a kitchen island and just sticking out the hand like this, and a cup slides across, right across the island and right into the hand. And I'm sure you've seen other videos of these children that are just like opening up books and not reading them, just going like this, turning the next page. And
I want to do that.
Yeah, and just consuming the information like that. And I think that's where we are headed. And when I was saying earlier, the opportunity, we have the opportunity to make the choice of walking on this line or walking on this line. We have the choice to say, okay, do I want to continue to exist and live my life the way I have been, right? Or do I want to change my life and live my life with love and acceptance and with unity? Or do I want to step on people's toes? Do I want to cut their grass? Do I want to stab them in the back for $5 so that I can be ahead? And then having that type of mentality, which a lot of people do, unfortunately, in these days. So, when I mean, the opportunity through educational shows like this one, the people that you market, Neil, and, like all of these people, myself included, that stream these types of shows, the idea behind that is to raise that awareness, right? Is right. To bring people to the idea of awareness that, hey, there's more life out there than what you've been told, right? Alexander is not great, right? Alexander is really not great, but, we continuously call him great. You might as well say Hitler the Great, right? Because the guy is responsible for just as many deaths, right? You can say Genghis Khan the Great, he was
or Julius Caesar. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. So the thing is, that's where one of the people I introduced you to, Isabel Hunt, she said, I don't want to teach my child history. I don't want, because this history is not, so this is one part of it. I want to go back to a little bit about the new kids and what's happening, because I see the internet, and I want to ask you if you agree. I see the internet as training wheels for telepathy, because I think it's training us to just think about something and instantaneously getting it. But what we're going through right now is this purging, because if we could instantly read each other's thoughts, it's ugly. We're not clean enough to do that in a kind and loving way. And so that's like instant manifestation. You can't do that either, because we're not quite ready for that. So do you agree with that, that the evolution of our species is actually, it may be helped by this technology leap that we're seeing?
I think it has, I would go half and half with it. We
Okay.
can use the technology for goodness, right? Or we can use this technology in a destructive way. The destructive way is the way we're showing our children on how to use this technology today, right? We're just simply giving them a device, getting them to connect with whomever that's out there and whoever they're talking to online. And that's kind of where we're leaving it. And to me, that's on the destructive side. But if we look at the positive side of it, of the internet, I think we can use it for, loving, useful purposes, because I can look at my granddaughter, Lola, and say, here, honey, here's a tablet. I want you to connect and find a friend and, communicate with a friend on there. So when Lola would go on there and communicate with a friend, then I would reach out to the parent of that child and saying, hey, you want to try an experiment? And if the person is open-ended on the other side, then, they would agree. And then what we can do is we can get Lola to sit aside, and then we can get, I don't know, Christopher to sit on the other side and focus on one another, right? Christopher can focus on Lola, Lola can focus on Christopher, and they can try to exchange those thoughts and then see if they can telepathically communicate with one another, and use the internet as more as a tool to connect, so that you can exercise those types of things. But at the other end, the parent has to be open-minded in doing so. And unfortunately, we're not in that position, right? We're not, our eyes are simply not that open, because people think that they can't telepathically communicate. And that's the biggest failure right there. As soon as you say, I can't do it,
You can't
that's
do
it.
it.
Do it, I
Well,
can
well,
do it. I will try, then it will work.
but see, if you look at the reason this goes full circle for me is that we're going into a new era, and we're getting out of the dark ages. We're going back into the Renaissance, and back in the previous 26,000 year period, we had technology that served, and we had a more peaceful environment.
Mhm.
We used technology for health, welfare, sustenance, everything. And so all these people that have worries about the earth is going to be just fine.
Mhm.
And I hope I'm not sounding Pollyanna, but I really think that technology is going to help us clean up the mess that we've done on the earth, and that there's a lot of, I believe that there's a lot of help available right now, hanging out right probably above our heads.
I
Do you
believe that we
agree?
can, yeah, I agree. I think that we can use technology to help the earth, help ourselves. But I think what we need to do is that we need to get over the profit, right? We
Oh,
need
I
to get
see.
over the profit margin of the thing, because when we look at technology, the number one thing people think about, corporations and CEOs, is how can I exploit this to make money?
I
Right? I
see.
think once we get out of that state of mind, then we can really begin to use technology for the better. Like we could, create like a replicator off of Star Trek and
Yeah.
and solve world hunger instantly.
Yeah, well,
Right?
those are real. I mean,
Yeah,
so much of the stuff that was dripped in Stargate SG-1
all of
and
that is real.
the X-Files and all of it. I mean, I have all of the Stargate SG-1's DVDs downstairs.
I used to watch
10
them
years
film it.
of it.
I used to
But
watch them
anyway,
film the Stargate in Vancouver many years ago when I lived
really?
there, and yeah, I would see Richard Dean Anderson walking around. To me, he'll always be MacGyver, but anyway, I was just
Yeah.
always walking around and saw the sets. Some of
Uh,
the X-Files,
well,
I used to watch them because I would set up in Vancouver on the streets and we'd stand there
cool.
and we'd watch them and
Oh, cool.
interact with them sometimes. So it's really cool. Speaking of X-Files, John D'Souza,
Uh-huh.
the X-Man, and that's what the X-Files are based off of, is John D'Souza. Because
Oh, really?
yeah,
I
he,
just watched one of his interviews with Michael DeSala or
oh yeah,
Micah Sala. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
the David Duchovny, the
Yep.
role that he's playing is supposed to be
Mulder.
of John D'Souza. Mulder, yeah.
Yeah, I love Mulder.
That was
Anyway,
a great film.
well, so that's where it gets all intriguing is I don't like all the conspiracy things because if you look at it, if this is a computer game and we're like even on Star Trek in the old Star Treks, Spock and Captain Kirk were playing chess on these um, plexiglass towers and there's
Yeah.
like 5 levels. That's what I think we're in. I think we're at the bottom and there's somebody moving the pawns. All the players are moving up here and then it goes down to us. But we are them playing. It's we programmed this that our soul light, our soul spark would have this experience and came at this exact time to be here during this huge change. And I mean, 8 billion people, some of these beings haven't been here that many times. And now there's all these walk-ins that are elevating consciousness. So I think there's a lot of chance for people to see another perspective
Mhm.
and learn from it if they're open. And that's what your show's about, right?
Yeah. I feel the same way, and I think the higher selves, right? The guide, or whatever people want to label them as. I think that's you, right?
Right.
Because you live in, say there's 13 dimensions, and you exist within all of those dimensions
Right.
as some sort of an avatar of whatever. And the lower you come down in these dimensions, the softer the body becomes. So, we're here in this dimension, and then now we have this carbon-based body. But if we were to, go up to our 12th density or the 13th density, then we would be made out of crystal, and we would be indestructible and have, like, you can't imagine the superpowers that you would have at the 12th level. But I think that we're experiencing all of these dimensions simultaneously at the very same time. And yeah, we probably do make contracts and choose to come into a particular time and space here in this third dimension, and then maybe even in the fourth dimension. But I think once we get past that fourth and go into the fifth, sixth, seventh, the time dimension just simply disappears, and you're experiencing everything at the same time, but at different at different levels. And we have the opportunity to do that here on this earth as well. We can, and as I always go back to this, the more awareness we increase within ourselves, the higher experience that we can have consciously. Because I feel that when this avatar is born, it's born with a limited amount of consciousness, right? Just enough
Oh,
to kind of like priming an engine to get it going. And I
okay.
think the consciousness works like that. And the more you make yourself into a better person, the more experience that you have, the more awareness you have, I think the higher the connection that you have with consciousness. Now imagine, like, if this is you, this is the mind, right? If this is the mind, and then this right here is consciousness. The consciousness is, the mind is the projection of the consciousness for this third dimension. And then the avatar that's here can connect to this mind. So, we call it the ether, right? But, the more self-awareness that you increase within yourself, the higher conscious experience that you can have within this avatar in this density. So if you, let me use an example. Like, we look at an animal, and an animal is an established state. It is an established form. It's not going to get any better, or it's not going to get any worse. It doesn't aspire to have anything more than what it has, and it doesn't want any less than what it has. Only thing that it desires is you give it food and it's happy, and that's it. But on the human, on the other side, is an unestablished form of being, right? Because what's happened is that evolutionary, we've come to our peak, to our zenith, and we're really not going to progress evolutionary biologically any further. Maybe in the millions of years, we might change a little bit. But I think what is left open for us is our consciousness, our awareness, and that want and that need to learn, and that need to be a better person today than you were yesterday, right? So that unestablished form allows us to continue to make ourselves better and better and better on a daily basis. And the better and better that we become, the higher the connection that we have to consciousness that we can experience. But if you stop being better, right? If you stop training yourself, and if you stop trying to be a better person, and just say, oh, forget it, I'm done with this, I'm just going to go hide in a hole and just wait till I'm dead, and then that's it. And what happens at that time is you've become stagnant, right? You've become stagnant, and you're devolving, right? You're physically not going to devolve, but mentally and spiritually, you're going to begin to devolve. And then your connection to that consciousness is just going to come lower and lower and lower and lower, right? Like we look at some serial killers, for instance, and they say, oh, that person has no conscience, right? That person has no conscience is because they don't have the connection to the consciousness that somebody else would have, because they're gone stagnant. They have not meditated, right? They've not looked internal. So, that's kind of where I stand with this, evolution and experiencing and having this human experience, right? It's because I've always said, it's like a governor that's attached to us, right? Like, in a car, would have a governor attached to an engine, and, the car would not allow you to drive any faster than 60 miles an hour, right? You can have your foot to the gas, but you'll never go 61 because it's at 60. And I think that there's the same type of governor that's attached to the human, where you can only experience like a certain level of consciousness, because beyond that, it's not compatible with the vibration and the distortion of this density.
See, I think that may be true for some, but because I'm really into the near-death experiencers and the spiritually transformative experiencers, and I've had a STE. I see it as there are no boundaries, that you as a consciousness decided to have a human experience, and you pre-planned a lot of the plot. And some of you, because I really think we are going to evolve to a new species of human. So I may be way off, but Barbara Marx Hubbard called it Homo Universalis. And she said we were just right now at a quantum check. She thought 2012 was when the birth of the new human was going to happen, but it's happening because we're in the middle of this huge change. And we've been in the middle of this huge change for years already. So I think we are going to be more crystalline. I think we are going to hold a lot more light. And I think that there's a chance, well, there's going to be spirits that decided to come to a planet that was ascending and not ascend to experience what that experience was like. But there's a whole bunch of people that are doing what they can to uplift and give people the window into their soul, the window to the experience that is peaceful and loving and kind, that we haven't had. That's what I'm calling the dark ages. And I think the indigenous knew all of that. I mean, if you look at all of the Peruvian shamans, the way that they've talked about it, there's been so much that said the earth, which we are cells of, needs the needs the evolution of the humanity to support this new earth.
I think
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, Kathy, I think we were always like that, right? What you just mentioned, I think we've been like that for hundreds of millions of years.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
When we look back, we've always been like that. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's only in the last 10, 15,000 years that we've become this, right? Like what we are today. And let me explain what I think, and just in very short, I think what's happened. I think what's happened is that the humanity has been hijacked. It speaks about it in literature, in ancient literature, Mahabharata, Ramayanas, just all the literatures across the world. There was a massive war that happened at some particular time here on Earth. I would imagine about 15, 20,000 years ago, maybe. And I think we lost that war. And then when when we hear about the Anunnaki and the genetic engineering and things that they've done, I think what they did was they didn't create us, but I think what they did was they genetically tinkered with us so that the reptilian brain would enlarge itself, and then the other parts of the brain would decrease. And the part that decreased is the part that we use to telepathically communicate and to use our consciousness and energy to manifest things. So they decreased that and increased the reptilian brain, so we'll always be in this perpetual state of fear. And they've created this civilization that we interact with, like there's a story of the 50 Watchers that came down, and their leader was known as Semyaza. And Semyaza is the one that really put together the structure of society as we see it today: universities, law, money, like all of these things. And all of these things are put there to keep us in that low vibrational form, is to keep us in that density where we're continuously responding with low emotion, because I feel that we are dealing with another entity that is living with us, coexisting on this planet with us, that feeds off of our dense energy. Some call it the archon, some call it parasites, some call it, whatever viruses, whatever they want to call it. At the end of the day, I believe that it's an extraterrestrial being that we're dealing with, that we can't see with our eyes because we're only limited to what we can see, right? What is it, like not 0.5% of like what we can actually see
right
in front of us. But if we close our eyes, or if we open our eyes and shut our lights off in our rooms, and we pay attention to the darkness, you can actually see things moving around within that darkness. My wife sees it all the time. Our cats see it because they're always chasing something, right? And they're not just chasing something because they've gone crazy. They're chasing something because they see something. And I feel that this is the type of cycle that we've been put into for us to respond programmably the way that we are. But we were never like this. So if we can somehow go back and genetically undo the damage that the Anunnaki has done to us, the tinkering that they've done to us, then our reptilian brain will decrease, and then naturally other aspects of our brain will come back to functioning again, because this body, this avatar is like one of the most complex pieces of machinery in all of the universes, right? If it's this or another, and not just this one, the gray avatar, the Palladians, the Syrians, all of them, right? If you have this body avatar, it is an extreme complex piece of machinery that will always go back to the reset. But the problem is that it can be hacked, right? And the way it can be hacked is through genetic tinkering, and only it can be, genetic tinkering can only happen through women. That's why when you look at abductions that are happening, 80% of them are women. And they're hereditary as well, from family to family to family. And this is happening all over the world. And they're still continuing with this program. So if we stop this program and stop these abductions and just put an end to this, I think humanity would bounce back within the century, and we'd be again what we were, 25,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. If that, very complex, very advanced, very smart species of people that can do anything they want. It's not aliens that built the pyramids. It was people. People were actually literally able to grab those 20-ton stones with their mind and just go like that.
Or using sound. If you, Michael
right, yeah.
Dillinger will say it's
sound. Yeah. Sound too. You can whistle and lift it. Who knows what they did, right? But the capacity and the ability of those people back then is where we can be in the future. And I think that's where we're going with this sixth root race and with these star seeds that are coming in, because they're really going to change the way. Just imagine what this world will look like, Kathy, once we are gone, right? Once we're gone, and only our grandchildren that are being born today, 50 years from now, are the ones that are running the world. The world is going to look like a totally different place, right? Educationally, financially, economically, however you look at it, it'll be a different world, because I don't think these new kids are going to want to have the need for the money that we've been programmed to want, right? Because
that's what I'm calling it, the Renaissance, because in the Renaissance, there were patrons that would pay, would support people to fulfill their life's mission, to express themselves in the arts and in music. So it was an amazing time. And I really think that's where we're going. I'm really optimistic. I got to help with a process with Greg Braden in a church in Denver with Jonathan Ellerby. And Greg had a slide or two or three about CRISPRs. And I don't know if you know about that. It's a type of DNA surgery that they went back and they proved that our DNA had been changed. And but they're capable of doing it too now. And so there's people on the earth that are capable of changing and making a superhuman being.
They don't make a super soldier.
Yeah, no, as long as it's not that. But I mean, the thing is that if we can get consciousness, if people get back to spirituality, and it's not just about the material plane, if it's about the heart, if it's about not about how much knowledge you can have, it's about how much you can share, and how beauty, divine beauty is your guide, because there's plenty of divine beauty here, and using that as a guide instead of money or power. And I'm optimistic about that. I think that's why I'm here. I don't know why else I would be here. And I don't know why I would have been given the gift of the STE and seen that. So I'm still assuming that this is the ugly cleanup time.
I believe so. I feel that that's my reason for being here as well. It's taking a long time for me to come to that realization, right? One, I was sleeping for a long time, and then I woke up for a little bit, then went back to sleep, and then woke up again, and then haven't gone back. But since the last time that I woke up, it's taken a few years for me to come to a realization that, that there's something bigger that's happening here and I have a role to play in this. And when I started Watchers Talk, Kathy, it was more just by accident. It was never supposed to be, what it is today. Well, I guess it was supposed to be, but my intention was never this, because when I first started Watchers Talk, it was part of a Facebook group. And and I was like, hey, Cliff Dunning has a podcast over at Earth Files. So I was talking to our admins and I said, well, why don't we have a podcast for our group? And the guys in there are like, yeah, that's a great idea. I was like, okay, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to try to start something. So I started it on Facebook, and at the time I had a co-host, Carrie, and we did I don't know, about maybe 10 shows together. And then after that, it seemed like the interest kind of disappeared from the group. But my interest didn't disappear, because my interest got piqued. I was like, hey, wait a minute, I've talked to these people. Now I want to know more.
Me too.
Right. And then I began talking more and more. And at first it was only, I was doing like one show a week. And then sometimes I wouldn't do anything for like 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. And then suddenly I would bring on 3, 4 people in a row, one day after another. And then again, nothing for a long time. And after a while, it's only like last year, really, I got the realization in my mind that there's something bigger at play here, and that, I'm here part of this, because this wasn't supposed to be what it's actually turning out to be now. And so I took that on, right? I was like, okay, if this is what it is, then I'm focused on it. I've paid a lot of attention to it, spent a lot of energy, time working on it. So I thought, okay, what can I do with this, right? If this is the energy and the feeling that I'm getting, then what more can I do with Watchers Talk, right? And then since then, I've just been slowly, exploring and expanding, exploring and expanding. And what I've come to realize was, okay, I'm not going to take those sabbaticals for like 3, 4 weeks and not do anything, and then bring on like 5 guests 5 days in a row. I was like, no, this is not the way to go. So what I've done is I've put together almost like a routine for myself. And because I thought about the routine, and because I had the intention with the routine, now that routine is manifesting. Because what I said to myself, okay, so this year, 2022, I'm going to have a guest on every 2 days, right? I'm going to take a break one day, guest the next, break, guest, and then so on and so on. And because I've had that intention, that's what's been happening for the last 3 months, right?
Wow, that's great.
I haven't had to fight for a guest. I haven't had to struggle to get a guest. I just reach out, say, hey, you want to do a show on this and this day? Yeah, I'm down. Okay, cool. Set them down and off.
Yeah, that's when you're in the flow of all of it. Yeah, I've been doing Conscious Business Zone for 3 years, and I've missed a couple weeks when I've gone on vacation or something. But in most part, I've hardly missed any of it. And I love learning from people like you. I still read lots of books and everything, but I love learning this way. So, I'm hoping that everyone else loves learning from you all too. Do you want to, I know we're running, we started a little late, but I'd like to have us talk a little bit about Humanity Unplugged.
Yeah, let's do it. I got all the time for you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. Well, would you be, because I'm on a different computer, could you pull up the website for me? So that, and I set it up so you could share, because I want to make sure. So basically, Omar and Joan of Angels asked me to help bring in some people to this event, and I think it's going to be amazing. It's 111, probably 120, really, speakers on so many consciousness elevating subjects. And the best way, I think, for people to understand what's going on is to experience other people's perspective, like I am right here with Omar, is we're exchanging perspectives of consciousness and life. Well, that's what this is from March 12th through the 22nd. So I'll let you talk now. I'll just be quiet.
Okay, so this is Humanity Unplugged, Explore the Internal. That's happening from March the 12th through to the 22nd. This one was, originally it was like 100 speakers. Rob and I from Full Spectrum Universe were kind of just messing around one night and said, hey, we should do a big event. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, how about like 100 speakers? And he's like, oh, wow, that's insane. But okay, I'm down. And I was like, okay, I like your thinking. I like the way you're rolling. So, okay, so let's do something. And so we talked about it the night before. And then the next day when we began seriously talking about it, then, we're like, okay, well, how about we go with 111 speakers because of 111, 1111, it just has good energy to it. So, it's just another 11 speakers, one more day. So why don't we do that? And so we started talking and we're like, okay, let's do it. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Joan and reach out to my friends at Forgotten Origin and see if we can arrange something and arrange some guests and speakers to see if we can unplug humanity from this madness that we're locked into, right? This cycle of profit is like really in my mind. And then while I was doing this, for the last 2 years, I've been doing winter solstice events with Forgotten Origin. And that's really based on the Aborigine prophecy. It's the same as the Anasazi prophecy of the two roads splitting. And we have to make a choice on which side we're going to be walking on. So I did that the last 2 years. And then now this year is the third year and the final year that we're going to be doing this. So I thought, okay, well, this will be a great opportunity for us to put all of these speakers together and take all the knowledge that they have, toss it out at the people and say, okay, there's the knowledge, there's the information, make your choice, make your decision as to how you want to roll. If you're willing to, make internal changes so that you can become a better person, shed some of your programming, open your eyes and respond with the heart and love rather than, lower emotions. So we started this and I didn't want to make a long write-up on it because, I know that most people are not going to read like more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. So I just wrote up like a little paragraph on how many people will be presenting and when it's happening and what the focus of this event is. And then I've got my intention right here. It gives us the intention of why we're doing this. And it's really to raise awareness for people. And then what we're going to learn at this event through all of the people that are presenting. And of course, all the topics are not listed here. It's just a few examples of what we're going to be learning. And here's like a little video that I just uploaded. It's from Paul Anthony Wallace. He's endorsing our event. So he created the short video for us to put out on our channels and share it around so that people can, know that this is happening. Right. And then of course you can sign up for my newsletter to stay connected with what I'm doing and all the exciting things that I'm doing this year. This is not the only conference that I'm doing. Over the course of this next several months leading up into December, I'll be doing other events as well. Not as big as this, but like 12 speakers, maybe a day event, maybe a 2-day event. Nothing insane like this of like 11 days, right? This is something special, right? So, I thought, okay. And then of course, Dr. Joan hooked me up with you. She's like, Omar, I don't know how many more speakers I can get, but I have a friend of mine, Kathy Mason. And I was like, oh, Kathy, she does your StreamYard with you, right? She's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to her. And then that's when we hooked up and began working together and putting these speakers together. And then here's a little timer of 3 days to go before we go live. And
wow.
And if people are at the website, they can choose on the days that they want to watch. right? They can click here, go to day one, but after the event is over and they want to come back here, they can choose the days they want to be on. They can look at the speaker schedule right here. It opens up the Excel window, and they can go through on who spoke on what day, and then they can come here and choose to watch whoever they choose to do so. Right, and then of course we have our speaker gallery, and I'm still adding, actually all the images have been added. Now I'm just linking the profile pages to all of these speakers, and all the days are like themed out. So we have a divine masculine day, we have feminine day, we have intuitive day, we have the megalithic past. We just have like all kinds of stuff. We have oh, I got to change that image.
Yeah, we got to say same.
Yeah, we got conscious music. We have Flo Karuna in the house that's going to perform some conscious music and give us a download on consciousness and how we can be better. We have Ford coming on, going to perform some music, and a number of other people that are going to do some music. And we have documentaries that are being featured, especially we have a piece on both sides of the gate, I believe it's called. That's being featured on March the 22nd. We have a 2-hour block that we've dedicated to that. So for the first hour, we're going to watch the film. And then in the second hour with James Bonato, we're going to have a conversation about the film and take questions from the audience. And also to mention, this is being streamed to multiple different platforms. It's being streamed to Watchers Talk, Full Spectrum Universe, Mason Works, Joan of Angels, New Realities, and Forgotten Origins. This is a YouTube event only, so it will not be streamed to Facebook. So if people want to share it to Facebook and have people come from Facebook to YouTube, then that would be great. But here's the record-making list. It just goes on and on.
Fantastic! Look at how many they're all brilliant.
Just some of its most beautiful people, just amazing people. I can't wait to hear them. Kathy, I always say, and of course, here's the organizers that have helped put this event together. And that kind of takes us to the bottom of the page. I did have a sign up for this, but then, it just became too confusing and too many places to go. Right, click this to go there, click that to go over here. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to remove that altogether and just have.
Well, next time you do this, I've got software that can help. But you've done an incredible job, because I've watched the progression of this, and it's really fantastic what you've done. And I know how hard that is because I build websites. So I know what you've done, and the opportunity for all of us to find new guides and teachers, and to be open-minded about everyone's perspective, because this is the time to choose. I mean, you had mentioned that there's prophecy. We're already choosing.
Yeah.
And we can do better. We can do better. So what I'm hoping is that by letting people know about this event, seeing all the incredible resources that everyone's put together for this, there's going to be so much co-creation that's going to happen from this, because people are going to discover each other. I mean, there's a lot of people on that list I don't know, that I can't wait to learn more about. So it's going to be on YouTube channels like mine. And will it be there forever, or is
forever?
Okay.
It'll be there forever. And what I will do at the end of each day, when the conclusion happens, usually around 7:40 to 8:30 at night, just in there somewhere. After it's over, I'm going to quickly chapter the video, and I will send that information out to everybody that was streaming it so that they can put it in the description of their video.
Okay.
And then everything will be chaptered, and you can choose to watch the speaker that you want to watch. And as well, at the conclusion of this event, I'm going to chop all of the days up into individual segments,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'll be sending those segments out as well to the channels that stream this, so that you can have the entire whole day. And then after that, you can upload like certain or all of them, in fact, right, individual videos, so that you can do premieres, and then people can come back and then they can watch those, and there's more exposure, more time to learn. Maybe some people didn't get to watch it the last time, so when a premiere happens, they watch it, and then there's that new dialogue that's created, new conversation. And that's really the goal behind it all. It's a free event. There's no charge for this at all. If people want to donate and do super stickers and all of that, they're more than welcome to do so. But I'm not going to be asking for any money. This is free, and this is a service to humanity. And I don't want to profit off of it.
I can't. You have donated so much of your time and energy to do this, and I know how much work this is. But I'm so excited. I get to do a lot of the what do you call it, moderation on the 15th and 16th. And then there's a couple other spots I get to help. So I'm really excited because I love the people that I know that are going to be in it, and they're stars. I mean, each one of them are experts in what they do and gifts to humanity. So I want to encourage everyone that's watching this and will watch this later on today, that you want to check out this event. It's going to be it could be the turnaround that we all are looking for. It could be that turn out of the dark ages into the light, because it will illuminate your perspective about everything.
I would have to agree cold-heartedly with that. And and I'll make an example, Kathy, as to the importance of this event. I never realized how important this event actually was until just very, very recently. I began to sink it into myself as to the importance of this, because one, this event started out of just joking around, playing around, right? Hey, we should do an event so big that we just can't even handle it ourselves. And it started off as a joke, and then it manifested into something. And even then, the reality of it just never really, really sunk in. I knew what was happening. I knew the idea and the intention behind it, but the gravity of it just really didn't sink in until like recently, because we talk about the two roads, and then we look overseas as to what's happening with Russia and Ukraine and NATO and all those countries. And then we look over here, beginning of possible of World War III that could start over here. And then over here, we're trying to create something of this space and this love to get people on board, so that we can begin to change our perception and begin to create the world that we want. So we have like two mega things that are fighting each other, right? It's almost like a celestial war of good and bad, right? Light and darkness. And here we are trying to bring awareness, and then here's this other event that's happening that could really be really, really ugly. So this like I don't know, it's really bizarre, and I think it's
okay. Well, I agree, and I want to say one more thing. I agree that everything that is in our consciousness is manifesting now, and there's shadow. And so what you're seeing is the possibility of us reclaiming our power and clearing our shadow, so we don't have to have war anymore. I mean, I knew as soon as Joan introduced me to you, it's like, game on. This is what we came here for. This is the illumination of our species, so that they choose to clear we're projecting all of this stuff that's really ours onto everything. We're all the same. We all want love. We all want good health. We want our children to be healthy and happy. We forgot.
Yeah,
We
you just
forgot.
changed my perception altogether there, Kathy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Because
no, I knew as soon as I'm getting
yeah,
chills. As
I
soon
never I never saw what's happening overseas as a shadow of us,
it
right?
is.
I never seen it as that. I just realized that now because I was looking at it as two separate events, right? And it's not. You're absolutely right. It's our shadow. And once we overtake our ourselves, right? Then we begin to take control of ourselves, that shadow will disappear and whatever that's happening will
Well,
disappear as
it's
well. That's
it's an
beautiful. Thank you.
integration
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
because
I
the
never
thing
really.
is that we're using energy to hide our shadow, to
Mhm.
resist our shadow. We integrate our shadow, and then humanity can move to this new
Yeah,
evolutionary step. And that is what's playing out, in my opinion, right now.
makes
And what
sense.
you're doing is you're bringing these people that are the co-creations you're going to see after this are going to be magnificent,
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
magnificent.
I can't wait to see it. I tell my wife, and I think I said this to Rob a couple of times too. This is like I call this the human recipe, right? The ascension recipe, because we've taken all these people and grouped them into like days according to as how you know we think on their energy, how their energy will work together from one speaker to the next, and what type of tempo that's going to set for the day and what type of energy that's going to set for the day. And it's kind of like baking, right? You take, you got a new recipe and you put it all together, but you're not going to know what it's like until you pull it out of the oven and actually taste it, right? And for me, this event and all the other events, I look at them in the same type of light where, I've taken this human recipe and put this human recipe together, and I'm not going to know the outcome of that until the end of day one and the beginning of day two, because that energy is going to carry forward. And then what's going to happen on day two, all that energy that we've, think that is going to work together, is it going to work together or is it going to clash with one another? And there are certain spots in the event where I have done that purposely to see what will happen, right? Like for instance, on the second day, I have three gentlemen that are talking about pyramids, right? The Great Pyramids in Giza. And the reason why I did that is not to pit them against each other or anything negative like that. My idea behind it is to show that there are different thinking for everything. And this is just an example because we have one person, Dr. Sam, right, talks about pyramids. Then I have my friend John Shaughnessy, who says that the pyramids are a gravity lens. And I have another friend, John Cadman, who says that the pyramids are a water pump. And I have another friend, Chuck Vanderbilt, that says, no, the pyramids are a star portal, right? So you have these three different perceptions that are coming in. And the idea behind that is to show people that we can have these three people come together, civilly talk about these things because they're showing their points. Now, what's stopping us from looking at other things and saying, well, this person's perception is this person's perception is this? They're not wrong. It's their perception. And I should try to understand that perception so that I can raise my awareness. And that's really the goal behind it, and the energy and the recipe soup. And I don't know, I'm just excited.
Well, maybe they're all that. And I think they're also they're stabilizers for the earth. And that's why they're all over the world, is that those pyramids actually have electromagnetic energy in them that are stabilizing, and there's some in the water. And so much of this, honestly, it's a renaissance. We've been in the dark ages. We've believed what we've been told, and now we're coming out, and the world is a place of wonder. And so without being rigid with our thoughts, what can we co-create of wonder and make this a playground. Now, we will always have contrast, but that's for us to choose. That doesn't have to cause a war to have contrast.
Yeah, no. It's that, again, it's that ego that creates the war. It's the ego, the container, right? That disagrees with someone. Like yesterday, I was having a conversation with a gentleman, and the thing that I found really profound was, I'm not going to mention any names, but he was saying that everyone else is wrong and I'm correct, and that everybody else don't know anything, or they're going through delusions, but I know the truth and my truth is the only truth. And I was like, "Wow, that's that's a pretty strong statement to make, right?" And we need to shift out of that, right? But that's the point, right? We need to shift out of that, and you and I can have a dialogue, and you can say, "Well, Omar, I feel that these pyramids are stabilizers," and I can say, "Well, Kathy, I believe that they may be for healing and transporting from one part of the planet to the other part."
What if they're all of it?
And what if they're both, right? Instead of me arguing with you and telling you that you're wrong, or you arguing with me telling me that I'm wrong, lowering your density, lowering your distortion, lowering your energy, and getting trapped in that hateful soup, when we can just agree and say, yeah, what if?
Well, Omar, what if because we're multidimensional beings and everyone's looking at everything from different perspectives, it's almost like you're in an airplane looking down. And so what if it's all true, but you get to choose which one? I mean, there's so much more of this. It's a game. And we're here to have fun in it, not to be tortured by it. And we just forgot.
It's a great big play, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you talk about video games and the metaverse and all of that. I mean, the idea is that, Shakespeare quotes say, "Life is but a stage." It's a play. I mean, seriously, a lot of philosophers, Socrates, Rumi, a lot of the mystics said, "Hey, this is a dream."
It is.
And so let's change. If we get into our power, clear our obstruction, and Saint Germain calls it obscuration, which is shadow. You clear as much as you can. The only way you clear it is being by open. So that's what I think this wonderful Humanity Unplugged event's going to do. It's going to give people resources and new people to learn from. It's going to be able to open you up to so many other ideas of how you can co-create here right now. This isn't all future. This isn't all past. This is now. And we're so powerful, you guys. We're so powerful. We just forgot. And hopefully this will wake us up.
Yeah, this is not rainbows and donuts and unicorns, right? This is very real. And the resources that are available to people, because it's like an encyclopedia that we're about to go through over the course of 11 days. And like you said, there's so much resources for people in there to reach out to people, because we're going to be sharing their links, sharing their websites, their videos, like my arms, the hair on my arms is standing up just saying that, like, this, the amount of resource that will be available for like 12 and a half hours a day for like 11 straight days. It's got to help anyone and everyone out there. It doesn't matter like what your genre is or what your niche is, what you believe in, what you don't believe in. If you just sit there open-minded and just watch, right, there's a lot of information that will come forth, and then you'll have those aha moments and go, I never thought about it like that, or hey, I never even thought about that.
That's right. This could be weeks of entertainment and mind expanding curriculum for people. And at least I know a lot of the people that I did recognize, and for them to give these presentations for free, a lot of them make their living by doing these presentations. So this is a huge gift, you guys. to listen to these experts and masters that they know why they're here and they want to share and they want to help guide humanity. So I'm just so excited to be part of it. And Omar, thank you so much for letting me participate with all of it. I get to be interviewed too. I'm not
I think
sure.
this was part of our contract, Kathy, before we even incarnated into this density. I think we had ourselves a conversation and said, "Okay, at this particular time, we're going to meet and we're going to do this together, and then we're going to carry our friendship forward." I don't think this would really be possible, if it weren't for your participation.
Oh,
and
wow.
and and the people that you've brought in, it's really helped expand the entire group, right? So this is something that was supposed to happen, and I'm glad that we're doing it together. No need for thank yous, nothing like that. Thank you to all the speakers, right? Because really, you and I were just facilitating this, and we're just sitting back, listening and watching and raising our awareness, and and watching all the chat rooms and learning, and really, thanks to all of that, it's a privilege to work with you, and it has been a privilege to work with you for like the last couple of weeks. We've been having our meetings. We just it's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, it's fun. Well, this is crazy. I mean, I've done enough of this. It's crazy, but it's so cool. I mean, I did one that I did that was 17 hours long, and I didn't schedule myself bathroom breaks.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, I figured out how to do it, obviously, but I'm still here to speak. So, but it's so cool when you get this momentum and you get you've got 100 very powerful high consciousness beings, over 100 of them, all presenting at the same time. This is a remarkable opportunity.
Yeah, hour after hour after hour after hour, just one after the other. There's no break. Well, there's a little bit of a break where, the speaker will give a 45-minute lecture presentation, and then there's 15 minutes to take questions from our audience. And also, if people are interested in watching in the studio, right, instead of on YouTube, they're more than welcome to do so. They can come into the studio and have that privacy that they want, because I know that some people, they want to watch, but they don't want to make comments in the chat room out of concern that the boss could be watching, family member, whatever. They just don't want to put themselves out there. But if you're in a private chat room that's not being exposed to anybody, then there's more of a chance that you'll dialogue will open with the speakers and other people that are in the chat room. And also what it does is that after the speakers are done, I'm just going to quickly ask them if they can spend like 10-15 minutes in the private chat and just kind of just communicate with people, and there somebody has a question that they can answer. So that option is also available to anybody that wants it, out of privacy reasons, or or you just don't like big chats. I don't know.
Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm working with Susan Christensen in her grandmother's circle. That one of my dear friends was in that circle and it passed. And I know they're powerful. And they were saying, oh yeah, there's 3 of us going to be on screen, but there's going to be the rest of us in the back end where we want to be there. So I know that there's some people will take advantage of that. And again, you guys, this is a energetic uplift event. So, and I will post more and more things about it so that I already sent an email out to my list, but we want this to make a difference, and we want this to help support you. And please know that we have to break down before we can rebuild. So this is just like anything. It's like going from winter to spring. We are in the rebuild, and some of these people could be your teachers, your guides, your spiritual upliftment to get you to a new place while you're going through all of this. So it's really important work what you're doing, Omar.
Thank you, Kathy, and yourself as well.
Yeah.
same with Rob and Neil and Dr. Joan, like, all of these people that are doing this work across the board, right?
Yep.
Huge kudos to all of them to help raise the ascension and help raise the awareness so that we can become better people, so that we can become crystalline, like we used to be. I remember earlier in the conversation you mentioned something about crystalline, and I sweat crystals. It's kind of weird, even if you look at there's some sparkles where I'm literally sweating crystals. It's kind of
Wow.
weird. I can look in the sunlight, put my arm like this in the
Yeah,
sun.
that's cool.
I can just
Yeah,
see it glittering.
that's of evolution. I mean, again, see, because we want to hold more light. We are light, and this density has not allowed us, because of the shadow, has not allowed us to hold as much light. But that is what's coming to the head to be cleared right now. And I'm so glad to be on this journey with you. I'm afraid we're going to have to sign off, but again, want everybody to be able to get a hold of you. Omar, what's the best way to get a hold of you if they want to watch you or connect with you?
I would say sign up for my newsletter. I believe it's in the description, and head to my website, theprojectionofyou.com. And you can find pretty much everything about me on the website, or you can come to my channel, Watchers Talk, and toss a comment into one of my posts that I have in a community tab. And usually I stay on top of my comments. So if you come in, just make a comment, even if it's off subject, it doesn't really matter. Then I'll respond to that, and then I'll give you whatever information that you're looking for.
Washers Talk is great, you guys. That's how I met Omar. I was watching it for a while before we met. So I think you'll see that the variety of information that they cover is really amazing. I mean, it's not paranormal, but it is the opportunity to see possibilities in all different subjects. So anyway, well, we've got to go now, but thank you so much, Omar.